lot to cover today. We have an extremely amount of a lot of material. Today is our day to review. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Got it. So thank you all for joining us for our virtual Healthy Steps class, sponsored by the Center for Closing the Health Gap. I am Daphne Baines, your health coach, and I am accompanied by my partner in crime, Miss Annette I. Bell, our nutritionist and dietitian. We thank her for being here to give us all the healthy eating tips, because that's what we want to know, what to eat and how to eat and all of that. So we're going to get right into sharing our screen so we can go through this presentation. Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, Anna, I didn't have to call you.
You didn't have to call. Didn't have to call.
All right. All right, so this is just a reminder, this is a 6-week virtual session. It's from 6 to 7. We already went through 3 sessions. Our first session was a review of diabetes, an overview of diabetes. Our second session was on healthy eating. Our third session was on healthy living and stress reduction. Today's session is the review of diabetes, healthy eating, and healthy living. Next week, we have our report out, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And our final session is our graduation and our Thanksgiving meal at the Health Gap. We're gonna have some food. We're gonna have some food. Yeah, we're gonna have some food. Miss Annette I. Bell is cooking for us, and it's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna let her tell you all more about it. But want to remind you that people completing the pre and post test, so the first class, you had a survey, and today you will have a survey. For those who complete both surveys, attend all sessions, and do the teach out, the report out, and those people will receive a certificate and incentive. People completing the pre and post test and only attending 3 out of 4 sessions will get an incentive. So this is the report out. What you need to be thinking about as you're getting ready for your report out is, I am ready to demonstrate my knowledge. So you need to be really getting that into your thoughts. I'm ready to demonstrate my knowledge. You will have 2 minutes to speak on one of these 6 topics. Know your diabetes ABCs, get routine care to stay healthy, healthy eating. Now this is just one thing, healthy eating, easy, healthy options. The next one is balanced meals, then how to overcome barriers of exercise, and finally, stress. So you have to choose one of those 6 topics and have 2 minutes to talk about it. Then after you talk about it, you're going to give your testimony, and you're going to answer the following questions. What is your name? What have you learned from this class? How has it impacted you? And how do you intend to share your learning? Any questions about that before I move on? You all are getting ready, right?
When does that due?
Next week.
All right, perfect.
Next week. That is all about you all next week. It's all about you all. So come ready for your 2 minutes to talk about one of those 6 topics, and then give your testimony and try to stick within a parameter. And you know, I got to talk about Anna. Anna, I love you, Anna, so I can pick on you. But yes, try to stay in the parameters because we have more people who want to participate as well. So now, anyone else before I move on? I know I spoke to Anna. Anyone else? Any questions? Let me quickly review
I'm sorry,
diabetes.
Daphne.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
sorry. I just want to ask those that are on, if you'd like for me to send the handouts from the Healthy Steps, put in the chat box your email address. I did send those out to the 4 people whose email addresses I did have. So if you like, because you'll need that for if you choose the healthy eating session, one of the 3 topics.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
I did notice today they had all the handouts from for all 4 sessions. And so if you look at your registration today, you should have seen the handouts. And so the same thing for me, if you need handouts on diabetes or healthy living, please let me know and I'll send it to you. Okay, diabetes. Let's review quickly what is diabetes. There are 4 major types of diabetes, and we went over this before. There's type 1 diabetes, usually diagnosed in childhood. This is when your body is making hardly no insulin. Then you have type 2 diabetes. This is most common. It usually occurs in adulthood, but diagnosed in increasing number with children. The younger generation is now being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Rates rising due to increased obesity and failure to exercise and eat healthy. That's why we are really focusing on healthy eating and healthy living. Then the 3rd type of diabetes is gestational diabetes. That's when women who are pregnant gets diabetes. Then our final diabetes that some of us said that they had here in this session is pre-diabetes. About at least 79 million people are diagnosed with pre-diabetes each year. That's a high number, 79 million, not 79 people, but 79 million. And it starts off because people are not eating healthy and they're not exercising. Moving on. Here are some of the symptoms that we went over: frequent urination, sudden weight loss, wounds that don't heal, you're always hungry, sexual problems, blurry vision, vaginal infections, you got tingling feet and fingers, and you're always thirsty. Those are some of the symptoms. Here are some of the complications if you don't control your diabetes. You're going to have complications with your eyes, your heart, your kidneys, your blood vessels, and your feet. You can have those type of complications. And we went over that in our, when we talked about what diabetes actually was in session 1. Here are some numbers about the diabetes blood sugar level. These are something good that you should know. You want the lower your numbers are, the better they are. And you can see the colors. Red, the dark red at the top means your sugar is totally out of control. You want your sugar to be coming down. Notice on the left-hand side, you have good. So let's try to keep our sugars in this level. You have 5, 6, and 7 A1C, some 8s. We're in the good range. So all the way to the right is your glucose levels. And it was cut off. Okay, so your glucose levels, you want to look at that right in the middle. 80, 115, 150, 180. Those correspond to your A1C levels. So if your A1C is like 5, your blood sugar, when you test it, is like 80. Then if it's like 6, it's at 115. If it's at 7, it's at 150. And if it's at 8, it's around 180. So the doctors usually tell you to keep your sugar in between 90 and 100. That's what some say. Some say 70 and 120. So ask your doctor what they want your sugar to be. My doctor says 70 and 100. So you want to talk to your doctor. Any questions about that? Or comments? Moving on.
Nope. I got a
Uh-huh.
question real quick.
Yes.
So if I was able to get mine down to a 7, is that
Yeah.
okay, or do I still need to work on getting it lower?
They will want you to get it lower. It is good, but it's still high because you consider diabetic when it gets over 6.5. So if you're pre-diabetic, you want it to be lower than 6.5, but that 7, you're diabetic. If you're diabetic, a 7 is good. If you're pre-diabetic, you don't want it to get to 7. You want to keep it under that 6.5. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay. Moving on. Thank you for the question. It was a good question. We also talked about blood pressure because blood pressure and diabetes are like kissing cousins. You have one, you have the other a lot of time. They go together, especially in the African-American community. These are the updated blood pressure readings, what your numbers you're supposed to have. Your normal number should be less than 120/80. That's normal. It used to be a time where we would say, oh, it's good. You know, I have 120/80. That's considered elevated. You want it to be under 120/80. So those are the new numbers. So you can look at this. You have this information. You need to go to the doctor immediately if you go somewhere and it's higher than 180/120. Very high. Any questions about the blood pressure? Moving on. Cholesterol numbers. You want your total cholesterol to be under 200. So one of the things I like to focus on is this HDL. HDL is your healthy cholesterol. And then over the LDL is your lousy cholesterol. So you want your HDL to be under 60 and your LDL to be under 100. Okay. So this is just some information you can kind of look back at. It talks about hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. Hyperglycemia is talking about when your numbers is high. Hypoglycemia is when your blood sugar levels are too low. And you can read up on that. Here are some symptoms, you know, when you're having hypo, your sugar is too low, you're feeling sleepy, you're sweaty, pallor, you know, you're just like, I'm here. Lack of coordination, irritable, hungry. That's some indicators that your sugar is way too low. If sugar is way too high, you may have a dry mouth, may be thirsty, blurred vision, weak headache, and frequent urination. So those are some signs you may be experiencing hyperglycemia. And here are some things you can do for hyperglycemia. It said there's a 15 rule, the rule of 15, get 15 grams of carbs in your body as soon as you can. So you can kind of look at this, 15 grams of carbs in your body and wait 15 minutes. That's the rule of 15. Then we went over how to prevent and control diabetes. Real quick, prevention all starts with better lifestyle, eating healthier, being active, taking medicine as directed, taking care of your body, check your feet to make sure there is no nerve damage or interruption of the blood flow, take care of your teeth, go to the dentist. I've been meeting way too many people who haven't been to the dentist in years and they're diabetic. So make sure you go to the dentist, control your blood pressure, no smoking. If you're smoking, try to stop. Check in with your doctor at least once a month. If it's controlled somewhat, it may go to 3 months. If it's controlled better, it may be every 6 months. Have your blood sugar checked along with your weight, your blood pressure and fillings when you go to the doctor. And check your blood sugar levels daily by using your home monitoring device. If you have diabetes, you want to make sure you're checking your sugar. So Annette is going to come in after I do my next segment and talk about healthy eating. Any questions about diabetes before I talk about healthy living? You all feel comfortable, you know, general sense about diabetes? Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Moving on to healthy living. And we kind of went over this last week, 2 weeks ago. There are benefits to healthy living, and you see there's 20. Number 7 on this list is that it reduces diabetes risk. It can help you lose weight. It can help lower your pressure. It can help decrease your stress and much, much more. So 20 reasons that we went over. We talked about the 4 different types of exercising. Cardiovascular, we call that aerobics. Strength, some people call that weightlifting or body resistance. Flexibility, some people call it stretching. And then balance, making sure that you know how to stand up and walk straight without falling. Diabetes and stress. When you have stress, it can really mess up your diabetes. It says that stress is a normal part of living. Some days you feel great, other days you feel tired, sad, upset about work or about your diabetes, about living, basically. Having diabetes can cause you stress. Changes in your blood sugar levels can make your diabetes harder to control. Low blood sugar can make you feel nervous or upset. High blood sugar, and remember we talked about that hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia. The high blood sugar can make you feel tired or down. So you ever see people, and Thanksgiving is coming, you ever see people eat a big meal, especially on Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and they eat and then they feel so sluggish? A lot of times it's because you just pumped up your sugar so high, now you're crashing and now you're tired. And so you want to be careful not to eat so much that your sugar gets out of control. It says what you can do about stress and diabetes, you can learn how to relax. And it gave you some other tips about handling your stress, including exercising, taking a nap, listening to music, and getting a hobby. 2 weeks ago, we did a meditation exercise that was real nice and relaxing. There are 7 meditation tips for you to look at and be mindful of. Start with 5 minutes and increase. Don't get caught up in a how, just sit and just basically be still and do it. Do it in the morning as soon as you wake up, because if you don't, sometimes you get so entangled with the cares of the day that you forget about it. Number 4 is focus on your breath. 5 is don't worry if you wander, return back and get right back into your breathing. Number 6, follow guided meditations. And then number 7, have fun and enjoy your time with yourself. Problem solving was something that we discussed really quickly. You need to find out what your problem is. You need to choose a strategy, solve it, and then look back. So figure out what your problem is. This will help you with your stress. Figure it out. Then choose a strategy. Look at many different things that you can do, and then choose one, solve it, and look back, see if it worked. That's part of problem solving. If you can solve your problems, it can help you feel less stress. Something I want to talk about real quick that we didn't have a chance to talk about is something called sleep hygiene. I might take a picture of this. I don't think I can see this. You can't see it. I'm gonna take a picture of it and send it to you all, have the Health Gap send it to you. This would be the last thing I'm gonna do, Annette, then it's all on you. Sleep hygiene, helpful tips to help you sleep. So you may hear people talking about sleep hygiene. That's basically taking care of your sleep. So here are some tips. First is your personal habits. Fix a bedtime and an awakening time. Figure out when you're going to sleep and when you're going to wake up. Try to make a routine of that. If you say you're going to bed at, let's say, 9 o'clock each evening, try to stick to going to bed at 9 o'clock. If you say you're going to wake up at 5, wake up at 5. That'll give you your time of sleep. Then for your sleeping environment, use a comfortable bed. Then it says getting ready for bed. Try a light snack before bed, especially if you have diabetes. You need something that's going to hold you overnight, so you won't get up in the middle of the night eating. So a light snack, and Annette talked about eating. So remember the rules of eating when she goes over that. Next is avoid taking long naps during the day. Just take a quick nap if you just have to. The next one is black out all distracting noise. Block out all distracting noise. Eliminate the TV, radio, all of that. Try to have it quiet if you can. Use relaxation techniques and don't take your worries to bed. We talked about meditation. That's a great one. Avoid coffee 4 to 6 hours before sleep. That's very difficult for some of us, like me, but try to avoid coffee, caffeine, alcohol. Last couple of things. Exercise, but not before bed. You need to give yourself time to exercise before bed. 2 hours before you go to sleep, you should be exercising, no less than 2 hours. And the next one, last two, reserve the bed for 3 S's: sleep, sex, and sickness. Sleep, sex, and sickness. I'm gonna say, it's hard to say. Let me try it again. Sleep, sex, sickness. Try to say that 5 times. Try not to eat in bed. Try not to just be in bed working and things like that. And then finally, get into your favorite sleeping position and do it. So I'll take a picture of this and send it to you all. So thank you. Any questions for me? Because it's time for Annette. Okay. I must have did a great job with the review, Annette.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay. All right, Annette, you have around, it's 6:26. So we just need to give them what? 7 minutes for the survey?
Oops, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Okay.
So
So-
at least 7 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll try to, if you're going on and on, I shouldn't say it like that. But if you're
Go
running out of
ahead.
time.
You can stop me, please.
Okay.
Because I
All
can
right.
go on and on.
I'm gonna go like this.
Okay. So once again, I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming back, and thank you for the new participants that are here. As Daphne mentioned, we are reviewing what we've gone over in the previous weeks. And so I'm going to be highlighting the 3 sessions for Eat Right. Okay, so, and I'm going to break them down on what you're going to be going over. So if you choose one of the Eat Right topics, I'm also going to stress to you which handouts you should use and review, and then you're going to report out what you learned from that. Okay, so this is the Healthy Steps Review, Eat Right, I Will Remember and Thrive. So that's what that's going to be about. So we talked about identifying healthy food options. So if you choose that, identifying healthy food options, I want you to remember to look at your handouts on how to read the new and improved food labels. It's a 2-pager. So make sure you look at that. And there's 7 steps I want you to remember. Is the first step is you want to look at the serving size. So I don't know if my little arrow is showing on the screen. If you look at this label, the serving size for this particular item is 2/3 cup. So look at the serving size and then think about how much you normally eat. If you normally eat, let's say, if you normally eat maybe cup or 2 cups, then you're going to have to multiply the number of calories and all and everything by what 2 cups would be. You'd have to do a little math for this one because it's a 2/3 cup portion. So, and then I want to encourage you, I don't know if you all can see my screen too. Is if you can see, you know, if you're not used to what a cup is, invest in some measuring cups, you know, so that you can learn how to eyeball it. But on one of my other handouts too, it gives you some suggestions of things you can use to eyeball portion sizes. So step 1, look at the serving size. Step 2, you want to look at the number of calories per serving. And then step 3, you want to look at the percent daily value. And so remember, in the percent daily value, what we talked about is if it's 5% or less in the percent daily value, then it provides, that food item provides a low source or a poor source of that particular item. For example, if you look at this item here, the saturated fat, it's 5%, so that's pretty low in saturated fat. So look at the percent daily value. If it's 20% or higher, then that's telling you that it provides a high source of that particular item. So in this case, let's look at down here, the iron. The iron here is 45%. So I say for the young females, you want to have some of this, eat this product because it's going to provide you 45% of the iron, and because you lose that at least once a month. So this is a good source to help you replenish your iron source. So 20% or higher of the percent daily value means it's a high source. The other thing I want you to look at, and the added sugar here, check this out, 20%. So that means this is high in added sugar. And so when you look at the percent daily value, you really want to aim low in getting added sugar or saturated fats or trans fat, cholesterol, or sodium, especially if you have to watch your sodium intake. So reading that food label, look at the percent daily value, and that will help you if this is a product that you should eat. The other thing, check out nutrition terms. You know, some things might say low calorie. And usually if it's low calorie, it provides about 40 calories per serving. Or it might say low in cholesterol, and that usually provides about 20 milligrams of cholesterol, or less than 2 grams of your saturated fat. If it says calorie free, then it's usually less than 5 calories per serving. So it still has some calories, but it's less than 5 servings. And things that say low sodium, it still provides at least 140 milligrams of sodium or less. So there's still sodium in the product, but it's low. So you have to think about what you have to watch out for. So really, the nutrition label is good to help you to eat more healthy. And then step 5, look at the saturated fat, the added sugar, and the sodium content. You really want to aim low for saturated fats, added sugars, and sodiums. Let me see. Then step 6, you want to look at the vitamins, minerals, and fiber content. So looking at this product here, it provides 4 grams of dietary fiber, but look at that, 14% is the percent daily value. So you know that's a pretty good source of fiber for you. And then the step 7, consider the additional nutrients, such as the amount of protein, carbohydrates, and any other sugars that's in that product. And keep in mind, for the total carbohydrate, it's looking at 3 sources. It's looking at the sugar that's provided in the food naturally or added. It's looking at the starch, and it's looking at the fiber, okay, for the total carbohydrate. And that's what's important if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, is you want to look at the total carbohydrate. And then last thing I want to say about the added sugars, it's suggested that you really aim at no more than 10% of your total calories coming from any added sugars, or no more than 50 grams. Okay, and I say try to go less on the added sugar. Go for the more natural sugar. Okay. And then next, oops, sorry, I got the screen in my way. So if you want to touch on the healthy eating by planning a healthy meal, then use the handout that is titled that My Plate Planner Methods of Use. And this is one that gives you some suggestions on eating. Keep in mind, look at this plate, and you want half of your plate to have the pretty colored fruits and vegetables, 1/4 of your plate to have your protein source, and it could be meat or meat substitute. The other 1/4 of your plate will be your whole grains or your starch. And then include a low-fat dairy and your free foods that's very, very low in calories. But look at that My Plate Planner that gives you suggestions on how you should eat. And that second page even gives you suggestions on portions, give you some suggestions on things that you could substitute for a portion. One thing I want to stress too, when it talks about tablespoons, you all can see my screen. It's not talking about this tablespoon, okay? It's talking about this is a tablespoon. So invest in some measuring spoons. You don't want to overeat, okay? When it says teaspoon, it's not talking about this teaspoon. Oops, if you can see that. A teaspoon is, this is a teaspoon. Let me try to get them. See the difference? Okay, it's not the teaspoon that you use to serve with. So invest in your measuring spoons as well, okay? Invest in even the plates. I have, even for the kids, I do the plates so that I can follow the My Plate planner. You know, here's another plate that I use. Or the other thing we talked about with the serving size, and I know Thanksgiving is coming up, the food's gonna be good, and you don't wanna overeat. And I suggest to help with your portion, instead of going with a regular dinner plate, use a salad plate to help you to lower your portion sizes. Okay, I know the food's gonna be good. You wanna just taste everything, okay? But you can help by eating off a smaller plate. Okay, so that's pretty much what the My Plate planner is telling you. It tells you how much to eat on, what to fill on the plate. And then on the back page, it gives you your suggestions. The other thing I want to suggest, if you're going to talk about eating healthy, you also had the booklet that is titled, the My Plate Planner booklet, where it even breaks down different serving sizes for you. So I want to suggest that you use that as well. It's the Healthy Planning Healthy Meals booklet. So make sure you look at that to get some ideas if you're going to be talking about healthy meal planning when you do your report out. The other handout that's good to use and make sure you understand is the one that's titled Healthy Eating handout. So check those out if you're going to present on how to plan a healthy meal. Okay, managing your blood glucose. Okay, want to stress again, carbohydrates. You really want to watch the carbohydrates that you eat. In that booklet that's titled Planning Healthy Meals booklet, it breaks down what's considered a carbohydrate counting source. 15 grams of carbohydrate counts as one carbohydrate count. And in that booklet, it breaks down how many carbohydrates you get for your all your foods, from your meats. And basically with meats, there's no carbohydrates in meats. You get your carbohydrates from your fruit, your vegetables, your whole grain, and your dairy. Okay, those are the main food items where you get your carbohydrates from. And you want to make sure that you eat at the same time every day. That helps you to control your blood sugars. And then you want to make sure your carbohydrates are evenly distributed. A good place to start would be to have 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrates at each meal. But it also depends on how active you are too. And the reason why we talk about protein and fat, that helps your body to slowly break down the carbohydrates that you get from your other food sources. The protein and fat, it helps you to stay fuller longer. And Toria, you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. So with my schedule, it's hard to stay with the same consistent time as far as like my meals, because I work second shift.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in at noon, like I don't really have the taste to eat breakfast at that time. Sometimes I wake up early and then I get off about 9 o'clock. So I try not to eat past 9. So it's hard to eat the same meal every day. So I typically do 2 meals instead of like my normal 3 meals.
Okay, so do you snack in between?
I do. I have like either a piece of fruit or like some like trail mix or something like that.
Okay, and so remember in the handouts that I did or in the PowerPoint presentation, especially if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, remember we had 2 food groups. We had the carbohydrate sources, which, as I mentioned, you get your carbohydrates from your protein, whole grains, dairies, and your fruits and vegetables. I'm sorry. And then so you have your carbohydrate source and pair it with a protein source, such as with meat or with nuts or with the dairy. And that helps to keep your blood sugar regulated. So if you have a piece of fruit, maybe have a few nuts with it, or a piece of cheese, or even a piece of meat. So go back over the PowerPoint where I broke down the suggestions if you're going to have a snack. But, my daughter works 3rd shift. So she works 12-hour shifts, 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. And breakfast time, the hours depends on when you get up. It doesn't have to be a typical breakfast like what we talk about. But the key is still, and I know it's a challenge for you, Toria, is try to eat something like every 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. And you could still stay in your schedule of not eating after 9 o'clock. But that's going to be the key to keeping the blood sugar regulated. Okay. And then using the food labels, like I said, it's going to help you to choose the right foods for your diet or your meal planning. And it depends on your health factors is what I want to say. And then as far as sodium and water, the reason why we talk about sodium is if you have high blood pressure or you have high blood sugars, and if you don't keep those under control, that puts you at greater risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. So please, watch your sodium content. And then as far as the water intake, remember those with diabetes, you still need to drink plenty of water. It's suggested that you drink 10.5 cups per day. For women, at least 9 1/4 cups of water, and for men, 12.5 cups of water. Okay, let me go back to with the sodium. Most people eat way too much sodium. You really only need 2,300 milligrams of sodium. That's less than half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon, if you all can see. Where am I? This is a half a teaspoon. And I challenge you to get the measuring spoons and measure it, okay? The other thing to help manage your blood glucose is grocery shopping. You all received the handout that says grocery shopping 101, shopping smart to manage your diabetes. The suggestions there is start off with writing out your grocery list, sticking to the plan, shopping in the outer perimeters where the healthier foods are. Okay, so navigate the grocery stores and going by your list so that you don't waste time, and make sure you eat before you shop because you don't want to do any of that impulse shopping. Okay, so once again, the Eat Right report out, you will have 2 minutes on one of the 6 topics. 3 of the 6 topics can be the healthy options, where you're using the food labels as your guideline, or if you do healthy eating, when it comes to carbohydrates, protein, fat, sodium, portion size, and calories, you can use the MyPlate meal planner. Get some ideas from that, the healthy eating. So utilize those resources and report out what you learned from that. And then for the balanced meals, that's when you really get into the MyPlate planner, My Plate Guideline, and Planning a Healthy Meals booklet. Okay, so use that if you're going to talk about planning a balanced meal. And then for the healthy eating, utilize the handout that talks about healthy eating and the My Plate Planner to get some ideas of what you learned from that. And then the healthy options, the food labels. How do you use that as your guideline? Okay, so I want to thank you all for joining. And I do know that the survey has been included in the chat box, so make sure you use that. And this is one of my grandchildren who fixed me a meal. Okay, so she used My Plate and her food models. And then this is my oldest grandson, who loves to cook and he loves to eat. So I say, hey, you love to eat, we're gonna teach you how to cook too. So, but yes, so please send pictures and quotes about how you're implementing the things that you learned in each session. And then in the PowerPoint, it has the email address that you should send it to. And then we also appreciate if you will like our Facebook pages, share and write posts on your social media about the program as well. And so next week, we're going to be very excited to hear you all report out. I am ready to demonstrate my knowledge.
Yes.
Just a reminder, if everyone can just type in done so that we know you've completed your survey, and we'll have it recorded.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
Annette,
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. You helped me when you taught the class, and I mentioned about sea salt, and you was telling me about how high it was. So I switched to garlic powder, onion powder, and I lost 5 pounds since then. So thank you so much.
Hey,
Wow.
all right, yes.
Thank you.
And remember, I gave you all a handout on other herbs and spices that you can use instead of salt.
Yes, I've been using that. Thank you.
Yes, all right, great
That's
job.
great. All right, so if you all can take a moment and do the survey that's in the chat. We have around 11 minutes left. Annette, you did a great job staying within
Thank
that
you,
time
Daphne.
frame. Go ahead, girl. So let's take a few minutes. We will be on right before. We only have a few people taking the class. We don't have as many as you had in your class. So I didn't feel a need to get a schedule and all of that about who will be first with the presentation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
next week, we're just gonna flow. I want you all to feel very comfortable. We're just gonna flow. I'm going to do some general talking in the beginning, let everybody get comfortable and all of that. And you all can ask any questions you want. We're gonna get into your presentation. We'll have time left over. And at that time, you all can ask questions if you would like. We'll do a question and answer period. And then we're just gonna flow out the session. Okay. So please, please, please. And y'all probably want to, because we're gonna be closing out shortly. So if you can get it out of there really fast, it's on tonight's presentation that you received as well. Anna?
Yes, ma'am. I just had a question. I was going to do a presentation about the food and everything. But I noticed when she was saying about the measuring spoons and everything, do you have to have that for a presentation?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
You don't have to have any props. So notice how I did not ask again
Right.
about you all sending in PowerPoints. Don't worry about any of that. We're just
Right.
Don't worry
gonna
about
talk.
PowerPoint. Okay, beautiful.
Don't
Beautiful.
worry about any of that. We just want you to
Beautiful.
talk.
Beautiful.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I'm putting it
That's-
out there right now. Y'all the best. Okay, so that's safe.
Any other questions? Ms. Robin, you look like you have a question.
No, I was trying to find the unmute button.
You finished? Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Oh,
Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both
Thank
of
you.
you. Thank everybody on here because,
Yes.
yes, because
I
we
guess I can
kind
give.
of pull on each other, you know?
Right.
Yes.
So that's a beautiful
Love
thing.
everybody.
Amen.
Love you all too.
Thank you, Anna.
Miss Dixon, you have anything you need to say? Miss Mary Dixon Richardson? Oh, okay. Okay, next week, we'll make sure that you're unmuted, okay? And work on that so we can hear from you next week. All right, Annette, any final words? Because it's after 7.
No, I'm just looking forward to hearing the report out. And I'm hoping you all, I know you all will enjoy the Thanksgiving lunch or dinner that I have prepared for you.
I'm ready for it. I had it before, didn't I?
Yes,
Have
you
everything
did. Yep, the crock pot
delicious.
turkey and the stovetop stuffing and yeah.
I'm ready. All right, well, we're gonna call it a night. Thank you everyone for being here, and Annette, you did an awesome job with the food as usual.
Oh,
We
thank
asked
you. You
all
too,
to-
partner.
Thank you. Have a stress-free week. Remember how you're to meditate. You got those 7 steps. Do some moving. Try to eat right this week. Drink your water and just manage your diabetes. You can do it. You can do it. All right, we're gonna say good night. And that you want to stay on when
Yes.
okay. All right, good night, people.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.